Going for boost over. Well, I think going for boost if you're a boost merchant, like someone like AJ or someone, you go for boost.
100% of the time.
Yes.
Always, every second of every game. Ball's going in your net, don't worry about it. Go get the boost and make sure you've got the full 100 to celebrate with the other team.
Never. Yeah, never. Always go for ball. Yeah. Number one rule of Rocket League.
Welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, where three aggressively average Rocket League players talk about everything RLCS with your hosts, Ace, Code Red Jack, Kyle Cube, and AJ Binky. So, if you've ever wondered when the best time to go for Boost Over Ball is, you've come to the right place.
But AJ, what kind of intro did you want on this one?
Best YouTube.
The best YouTube intro. Okay. Well.
Best YouTube intro you got.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, thank you so much, and welcome back to the show. If it's your first time, thank you for tuning in. I'm here today with Ace and AJ Binky. How's it going, guys?
What's going on, guys? Doing pretty good.
Hell yeah. Ace?
I loved it.
You gave up on that real fast.
Yeah, well, I don't do YouTube.
Not you.
I enjoyed it.
AJ got like 2 words in. He goes, "All right, I'm done with the all right. I don't have a good YouTube intro, so I'm just gonna be like, hi."
What's happening?
Oh my god. Yo, what's up? It's your boy Ace, Code Red Jack. How y'all doing today?
That was pretty good.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, but on today's episode, we're going to be talking all things from the World Championships that happened last weekend and last week. The results, our predictions, some of the things that people are talking about, awards and everything in between. As we've already talked about the wildcard Swiss stage, we will quickly recap that one before getting into groups and then into playoffs. So, Ace, you want to let us know which teams qualified into the main event and which teams went home early?
Out of Group A, Group B, or are we talking wildcard?
Wildcard Swiss.
Wildcard Swiss. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. I'm on the same page. Yeah. So, coming out of the wildcard Swiss stage, we are looking at G2 Esports, Team Falcon, Crew, Space Station Gaming, Complexity, Moist Esports, Twisted Minds, and Team Secret. With with G2 and Team Falcons coming out of that very well, 3-0, and the rest of them, coming in somewhere between that and not.
Fair. And AJ, who do we have eliminated out of the Swiss stage?
Teams that are getting sent home are, that did get sent home after the Swiss stage was Power, G1, Elevate, Pioneers, Oxygen, Limitless, Valiant, and Gaming Gladiators.
Awesome. So, like I said, that's going to be a quick recap. We did a full episode on the wildcard Swiss stage. So, without further ado, we can jump directly into Group A. So, for the Worlds this year, they did 2 groups of 8, Group A and Group B. It was double elimination and if you win 2 games, you advanced into playoffs, and if you lost 2 games, you were sent home. So, coming out of Group A, in the upper quarterfinals, we had Karmine Corp taking down Team Secret 4-1. We had BDS taking down Team Falcons 4-2. We had Liquid beating Complexity in Game 7 to advance, and we had Crew in Game 7 defeating Ninjas in Pajamas to advance to the semifinals. Next up in our lower quarterfinals, we have Team Falcons knocking Team Secret out of the event 4-1, and we have Complexity knocking out Ninjas in Pajamas 4-2. Did anything stick out to you guys about the quarterfinal round from Group A?
I mean, Team Secret goes home pretty early. That they fought pretty hard getting out Swiss, but they did come in, just squeezing out of Swiss, and then they were out first round in the group stage. So I think it's pretty solid that they just, they were consistently not good enough, right? Just barely good enough to get in, and then they were out. I will say I was a little disappointed to see Ninjas and Pajamas go so early. I had higher hopes for them.
Yeah, I mean, they were the number 1 SAM team coming into the Worlds, right? They did not have to play in the Swiss stage. They qualified directly into the group stage, and they went home just as quickly as Team Secret did in the same round. And Crew, kind of the last remaining SAM team here for a little bit at least. AJ, you want to hit us away with the semifinals?
Yeah, Falcons sent home Crew after Game 6, and then Carmine beat Complexity in a Game 7.
And how did Crew and Carmine end up in the lower bracket?
BDS beat Carmine 4-1 in upper bracket semifinal, and Liquid took down Crew 4-2.
Yeah, so we have BDS and Team Liquid qualifying directly through the upper brackets to the playoff, the single elimination playoff, and we have Team Falcons and Carmine Corp qualifying through the lower brackets directly into playoffs. So, I feel like we have to talk about BDS a little bit here first, right? A really big series win against Team Falcons, and just an absolute dominant performance against Carmine Corp. I don't really know. Like I've seen Rise play quite a lot of series in LAN, and he looked stupendous. Monkey Moon was doing Monkey Moon things, and they just outclassed Carmine Corp in my opinion.
Yeah, they looked good.
Let's be honest here. BDS came to play. This is the BDS we saw during Worlds last year. This is the BDS that won Worlds last year. This is not the BDS that just got kicked around all through the beginning of this season, though. So it's really good to see. I loved watching all of their games.
Yeah. And then our other upper bracket team, Team Liquid, exercises some demons. They're able to take down an NA team. They're able to win a Game 7 and, to advance to the upper semifinals. And then they take down Crew and knock the last remaining SAM team into the lower bracket to qualify directly through. Team Falcons continue their fantastic run, taking out Crew. And I really thought Complexity was going to take that series against Carmine Corp. I was a little bit surprised that Carmine was able to pull it out, because I kind of thought Complexity had their number. But it was a really low scoring series for the most part, and good on Carmine for taking it. But I really thought after winning the first 2 games that Complexity had maybe some lightning in a bottle or something like that. But that's why Carmine Corp has been at the top for as long as they have.
Yeah, you kind of feel bad. You kind of feel a little bad for Carmine Corp just because they ended up having to face off against Team BDS so early and get thrown down to the bottom. But I think if it wasn't for them running into BDS, they probably would not have been in the lower bracket for quite a bit longer.
Yeah, that's another thing that is a little bit interesting about this kind of setup, right? So like you have Team Liquid, seemingly in a better position in the bracket than Carmine Corp, right? So like you don't have to play BDS on Team Liquid's side, right? You beat Complexity, and in my opinion, that's probably the hardest team that you'd play, right? So like whether it's Ninjas in Pajamas or Crew coming out of that first game, I really, I think that Team Liquid's just a little bit better than both of those teams right now. So, you prove you can beat Complexity, and you kind of have a little bit more of an easy run into the playoffs. But jumping down to Group B, this group has Gen G, Mobile One Racing, Twisted Minds, Rule 1, G2, Team Vitality, Moist Esports, FaZe Clan, and Space Station Gaming. Ace, you want to take us?
Group.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Group B. This is our North American group. Honestly, you got North America and mostly just this is where all of our North American teams was in Group B. You got a couple MENA, you got a few others, but yeah. So we're looking at Gen G. They in I'll just run down it from the start for the upper brackets here. So we got Gen G, Twisted Minds going to Game 6 with Gen G winning. You have Rule 1 being taken out by G2 Esports in Game 5. You have Team Vitality sweeping Moist Esports 4-0. And then you have Fourth Clan losing to SSG in upper bracket quarterfinals. Then I'll just jump right down to lower bracket. I'll just handle this first column here. We're going to go to Rule 1, Twisted Minds. This was a fantastic series, by the way. Rule 1 stays true to form, winning in the last possible moment. That is really their brand. In Game 7, they beat Twisted Minds, and they maintain life for just a little bit longer. And then Moist Esports versus FaZe, and Moist just kind of wipes the floor with FaZe. I think the first couple wins from FaZe, it was like, okay, Moist is not here, and then they turned it on, and FaZe was not able to respond, which put FaZe out as quickly as Team Secret and Ninjas in Pajamas. If you want to make just completely
and
unfair
Twisted Minds.
Yeah. So I think we made a joke in our Discord. You and I were talking, and I was like, "No, FaZe is just going to be out. They're Fourth Clan," and you're like, "They're more like 9th to 12th Clan," and I was like, "Precisely."
Yeah, I mean,
I think I responded as soon as they went out. I was like, "Yep."
I think they're actually 12th to 16th Clan.
I'd buy that.
So, I mean, we'll talk about it more at the end, but I'll leave the question dangling for the meantime. Is this the end of FaZe? But, we'll move on here to the semifinals before we talk about all that stuff at the end. We have Gen G Mobile One Racing taking down G2 in 5 games. We have Team Vitality taking down Space Station 4-1. And then in the lower brackets, we have Space Station taking down Rule 1 4-1. And we have G2 sweeping Moist. So we have Gen G and Vitality qualifying through to the playoffs through the upper bracket, and we have Space Station and G2 qualifying through to the playoffs from the lower bracket. We've talked about it a little bit, but in my opinion, the most surprising result of this whole bracket is the 4-1 Space Station over FaZe Clan, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Most surprising? I would say yes, only because that was not the first game we've seen Space Station, because they had to fight through the Swiss. But FaZe didn't have to fight through the Swiss, so we didn't know what FaZe we were getting. And in Swiss, Space Station made it pretty clear that we were getting the good the good SSG. Arsenal was on one this tournament. I mean, if you look back at Swiss, they beat Team Liquid and Moist 4-1, 4-2. They came to play. So it wasn't too surprising for me. I did expect it to be a little closer though.
Yeah, I mean, with everything that was happening with FaZe, like all the stuff about Roldiz, all the stuff about the coaching change, how it was handled, all the players, like all the comments that Roldiz made, whether you think that's right or wrong. And I think we'll probably do a whole episode on this, so we don't have to spend a ton of time talking about it. But with all the scrutiny and all the things that were happening with FaZe Clan, I kind of just expected them to show up maybe a little bit more, prove to them hey, I think we made the right decision. But they were flat the entire time. They never really looked good or in the series, and they crash out as quickly as they possibly can. And I mean, I hate to do it to them, but they won one more game than Valiant from SSA, right? I mean, it's a Swiss stage, it's a little bit different, but they won 2 more games. They won 1 less game than Limitless from SSA. They won 3 games in this tournament. 1 against Space Station and 2 against Moist.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the lower bracket semifinal, Joyo was having a masterclass of a series. It was not enough to beat G2, but Moist certainly looked better than we've seen them looking a little bit, and Joyo was in a class of his own, in my opinion. He looked very, very good.
Honestly, I thought they looked good against Vitality too.
I thought they did as well.
Yeah, all the games were close.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was very interesting because I feel like, leading up to the playoffs, we got some of the results we expected, right? We expected Vitality to just go on through. But of everybody that Vitality went up against, I felt like Moist seemed to stand the best chance. And at this point, we'll talk more in playoffs about other teams standing a chance or not. But up until this point, I think Moist gave them the best run for their money.
I actually think I liked SSG against Vitality. All of them are 1-goal games. A couple, like a bounce or two the other way, and that series could have easily been 4-1 Space Station. I mean, it wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Vitality's a fantastic team, but I mean, that was a really close series. I was not expecting that. I mean, SSG never looked like they were in control of the series. That always, in my opinion, seemed to be firmly in Vitality's court, but they never looked fully outclassed, which was exciting to see as a Space Station fan. I think LJ had himself a standout tournament, and that's shown in the awards we'll talk about at the end. But I like that series from Space Station against Vitality as well.
I mean, honestly, that just goes to show how good Space Station was in this tournament. That this wasn't the SSG that we've been seeing lately, right? Like SSG's always been good, but they haven't been like, okay, they're a contender to actually make it top 4 or possibly Worlds. But I felt like had this not been Zen's first season and had this not been Vitality's game to lose, SSG stood a pretty good chance of being at least in that grand final.
Yeah, and I mean, they have to be happy with themselves. They qualified through the playoffs. They were the best performing NA team in playoffs. They took the most games off of, with 2 wins that, puts them tied for the best of the losing teams in the quarterfinals. So, that makes them 5th or 6th, right? So they got to be happy with that, considering where they were at the beginning of the season. But let's jump into playoffs. AJ, you want to take us through the playoff quarterfinals?
Yep. We got Team BDS taking down G2 4-1. Team Liquid beating Space Station 4-2. Carmine sweeping Gen G. And Vitality taking out the Falcons 4-2. Good old birds and the bees matchup.
Yeah, the crowd was pretty hyped for that one. I was, maybe thinking, after game 2 that Falcons had a chance, and then Vitality kind of opened it up a little bit. So, Vitality just, even in that first series, as we continue to move on, they're in a class of their own. But in semifinals, we have BDS sweeping Team Liquid, and we have Vitality taking out Carmine Corp 4-2 in probably what I would say is the most hyped crowd matchup. Like the Blue Wall and the Vitality fans.
Oh man, I had so much I had so much FOMO watching those games because I was like, that EU crowd was something to behold. That whole Vitality section, all their chants and their waving, and then you had KC and their home turf. Like we thought we saw some KC folks over in Boston, but that was just the small portion of them that could make the trip over here to NA. But wow, on home turf, that was a loud crowd.
Yeah, it
was crazy.
The decibel level hit higher than in Boston, and it was sustained too. So like the crowd was awesome. You could hear it on stream, which was fantastic. They had the drums, they had the horns.
Yeah, that was really cool.
They had all the flags and banners around. It was a fantastic venue. And before we talk about our grand finals match, I just wanted to give a massive shout out to Stacks, to Subi, the people that we've interviewed, to the rest of the RLCS broadcast crew, all the casters, the analysts, the staff, anybody involved in that production. It was fantastic. They had talked a little bit, and I saw on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it is now, that they were really trying to to differentiate this from just another LAN, right? So like in Dallas last year for Worlds, they felt that it was good, but that it wasn't that much different than, one of the, winter, spring, or fall split majors. And they really wanted to differentiate it this year. And I think that they did a fantastic job. The crowd was awesome. The lead up was very good. The intros were awesome. They did, that whole dedication with the new trophy, and the players' names get engraved in it. The intros were spot on, and the way that they rose up the elevator to do the walkouts was awesome. I can't say enough good things about how much production quality went into it and all the great things that they did.
Absolutely, completely agree with that. The other, there's another interesting point about the you had mentioned the hype of that KC and Vitality matchup. I believe I read somewhere. I don't know if it's. I don't know. I haven't fact checked it, but I could have sworn I seen somewhere that was actually the most watched. That's when they peaked as far as concurrent viewers on the stream. Was that match?
Yeah. So the grand finals peaked at 425,000 viewers across all of the online streaming platforms. And the Karmine Corp Vitality Series peaked at 468,000 viewers.
Wow. Rocket League's a dead game.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So it's like the 400 and something thousand plus the 8,000 people that they had in attendance there. It's certainly like the jokes are there, right? That's the most viewership a Rocket League event has had ever, beating out the Furia Moist series from in Dallas last year at World Championships, which had over 300,000 concurrent viewers, and this blew that out of the water by over 100,000 people. So it's good to see for the scene, for the community, for the fans, for everyone to see that their hard work is paying off. So again, hats off to the whole team, and hats off to the Rocket League community for getting to tune into some fantastic Rocket League. So we've put it off long enough. I say that because the grand finals almost seemed like a formality.
We don't need to talk about that. That's boring. We need to talk about content. Those grand finals were not content.
No, they were not. We have Vitality sweeping BDS 4-0, and it was never close. Like, there was one overtime game in game 3, but other than that, Vitality just completely outclassed BDS. And it's such a stark difference to me from that Liquid series, because I think that Liquid series is some of the best Rocket League I've ever seen BDS play. The saves were fantastic. The offensive rotations were rolling. Rise was playing fantastic. Monkey Moon was hitting some angles, and they just took down a streaking Team Liquid pretty easily. And then they kind of pardon the expression, but shit the bed in the finals, right? It's back-to-back Worlds to me, where the grand finals have kind of been what should be the most hype, but probably one of the least exciting series of the day.
They scored 3 goals against Vitality.
Yeah.
And it was all in one game.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's rough.
It could not have been further apart.
I mean,
which is crazy.
Scored 0 goals.
You're right. When you're right, you're right. But the other deal is what worries me, and it not really worries me because I'll watch Vitality clap people for a couple of years till people figure them out, right? But BDS was in top form, and they were clearly the best team in every one of their games. And then Vitality said, "No, hold my beer," right? That was not what I expected to come out of that series after watching BDS just dismantle all these other teams that seem to have. I mean, look at Karmine Corp. BDS kind of just wiped the floor with them earlier in the tournament, 4-1. And Karmine Corp took more games off of Vitality than anybody else.
I mean, I was thinking of an expression that kind of comes to mind: best of the rest, right? BDS is the best of the rest right now. They've consistently beaten Karmine Corp in the last few events, but just because you're the best of the rest doesn't mean you're close, and they're not, and it wasn't. I mean, yeah, this gives me hardcore BDS G2 vibes from the 2022 World Championships. right? G2 played a stupendous semifinal series. They looked like unstoppable coming into it, and they ran into a brick wall. And then the brick wall fell on them. And the same thing happened to BDS. Except, they ran into a brick wall, the wall fell on them, the earth opened up and swallowed them, and then Vitality walked out.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because, I mean, one of the things I found most interesting about this grand final is no matter what happened, history was going to be made, right? Either Vitality was about to show that you can speed run RLCS, right? Or BDS is going to be back-to-back world champs.
Yeah, and both of these orgs were looking to become the first organization to win multiple world championships. Not players, but like organizations as a whole.
That's really interesting because I heard them say that on the podcast, or not on the podcast.
The broadcast.
But I heard them say that on the broadcast, and I was very curious because I could have sworn somebody else has won multiple, but I guess not.
No, players certainly have, but like Turbo Pulsar, KDOP, and all them, they won his Gale Force, they won his Dignitas. The rosters changed enough where it wasn't the same organization every time that was winning it. One again with NRG. So, like, he's still the only 4-time, right? And I find it very hard to believe that someone's going to catch him in that regards. But, Vitality now becomes the first organization in Rocket League to have won 2 world championships. So
fantastic for them.
Good for them. Good for Alpha. Good for Radosin. Played stupendously in the playoffs. I thought that he had a standout performance this tournament. Even against Karmine Corp, Zen had an own goal, right? That's usually Radosin's MO. Scores for both teams, but Zen with an own goal able to adjust, and they're able to take him down. And Zen just looked at home against BDS. He was freestyling on him almost. I believe that CJ said it looks like Zen's out there in free play, and it did.
Yes, that's exactly what he said, and I laughed very hard.
I like laughed in a way. I'm like, this, like, the only reason this series is even remotely entertaining is because of how outclassed they were. And
yeah,
I mean, it was interesting. I was over at my parents' house watching some of the games on their TV, and my dad walked in, and he came in for the BDS Liquid series and then the Vitality BDS series, and it was funny to watch. He hasn't watched a lot of competitive Rocket League, and he's like, wow, the BDS team is really good. I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey, that Monkey Moon guy, he looks amazing. How does he do that? I'm like, yeah, you got me, man. That's like that's part of it. He's one of the best players in the world. And he started watching the BDS Vitality series, and he goes, hey, is that Zen kid? That's that, like, best player in the world you talk about, right? I'm like, yep. He goes, he's really fucking good. I'm like, yeah, he is. And he's like, so is BDS shitting the bed, or is Vitality just that good? I'm like, I think Vitality's just that good. He goes, wow. Damn. Okay. But
I would like to think it was both, right?
I would too, but we'll have to wait till next season to find out. But it was just cool to me to see him watching it, because he hasn't watched like live RLCS stuff before. So he was getting all hype about Zen's double tap and some of the ceiling shots that they were doing. He's like, oh my god. Like, he was getting way into it. He's a big soccer fan, so it was kind of funny to watch him do that. So it was a cool experience for sure. And that also made the grand finals pretty entertaining for me, was just watching his reactions to everything. But before we jump into awards and all that stuff, we have to talk about our predictions. And because we're the worst, we only predicted which teams would make it out of Group B.
Group A. Right?
Yes. No. Group B. Because we had Vitality.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know how to type either. So we should have done better about making our predictions, and we will try to do better about making brackets, making predictions for everything, even if we're completely wrong because the teams aren't set yet. But we should have done a better job of getting all those out there. But running through our predictions, Ace predicted Vitality, Rule 1, Space Station, and Twisted Minds to make it out of Group B. 2 of which Vitality and Space Station made it, but Rule 1 and Twisted Minds did not. AJ predicted Rule 1, Vitality, FaZe, and Twisted Minds. Of that, Vitality was the only one to make it. I predicted Rule 1, Vitality, SSG, and G2, and Vitality, SSG, and G2 were the ones to make it out of that. So all of us predicted Rule 1. None of us actually got Gen G. That's the big one that we missed.
Oh, that's just trauma. That's what that is. That's us not wanting to trust them again.
Yeah, no kidding. We've been hurt. We've been burnt before. But yeah, so our predictions were, not bad, but we definitely should have done more predictions. So we should have given you guys a better opportunity to see, how much we're wrong, and to make fun of all of our bad predictions and our bad takes. But that's what we're here for. So we will continue to try and get better as we go along. But now we will move into our World Championship awards. Our World's MVP, obvious choice, no one really other than Zen. Our World's Offensive MVP, LJ. Our World's Defensive MVP, Vatira. So LJ was responsible in the playoffs for 17 of Space Station's 19 goals he was involved with, and that's stupendous. Vatira was a force on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, standing out particularly with all of his saves, especially against Vitality and Falcons. They both threw a lot of shots on net, so he played fantastically. But can we ever really say too many nice things about Zen?
No, I don't think we can.
Nope.
Yeah. And we talked about it before, but the man's is speed running RLCS, right? He won everything that there is to win in one split. A major, 3 regionals, and a world championship. Still has not lost an event since he came into RLCS.
Hasn't lost a series, right?
Technically, two
They've
series.
lost 2 series.
They dropped down to lower brackets in Boston, and they lost a bracket reset to BDS
Yeah.
in the 3rd regional.
I wasn't counting the bracket reset, but yeah.
Technically, yeah, but but he's never lost an event.
Right. That's insane.
So, I mean, it's mind-boggling, and I'll say it again for those in the back that didn't hear. Vitality hasn't lost an event since they brought in Zen.
All right, here's a question.
Okay.
Are they going to lose a tournament next season?
You would hope so. You would hope that every single team on the planet that wants to be pro is watching every single second of every game Vitality's played and finds out a weakness, right? Because as much as I would love to sit around and watch this happen over and over and over again, it is a bit more interesting if it's not a predetermined outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and we know from what we've heard from our people that we know in the scene, from pro players tweeting, from Twitch and YouTube streams and all that stuff, the absolute roster mania that's going to be happening in NA, with Justin saying every team is going to change after the World Championships. I have to think that on some level, a lot of the EU teams will be changing too, right? So they were dominant over NA for the most part, but you know who they were not dominant against? The team that won. So, they have to compete with the other regions, which they're doing just fine, but they can't even compete in their own region. So I think things are going to have to change for almost everybody.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, because is it just that Zen is so good, which obviously Zen has made it very clear he is that good, right? But he's not the only member of that team, and there were many games where he was not the number. Maybe not many, but there were at least a couple games where it was the other two that really shined, right? So, do you think that after Roster Mania, dream team it? All right, Kyle, dream team it. What would be your dream 3 team to come out of Roster Mania that would compete against the Vitality squad?
Specific to EU?
Let's just assume that they can cross the water, and any mixture of EU, MENA, NA.
Beast Mode, Daniel, Tom.
I mean, hey, I think they would have stood a better chance than some of the others.
That's
Yeah.
interesting, because I didn't think that they even made it to Worlds, that team.
Yeah.
But
They
I
got
mean-
knocked out by Rule 1, technically.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I was looking at some stats after everything ended. After dealing with the major FOMO and some of the, oh shit, the World Championships are over. Now we gotta wait how long until the next season starts. There's some rumors that it's not going to be till January, but we'll find out some more about that later. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. But if you had to guess, and I do know the answer, if you had to guess which Vitality player had the most goals for them in this tournament, do you know who it was?
Redosin.
It was Radosin.
Yep.
I
was
didn't
gonna say
actually
Redosin.
know that.
Yeah, but so in my opinion, that is a little bit different than the eye test, right? So like some of Radosin's plays are very helpful for BDS or for Vitality. His challenges were awesome. It felt like in the grand finals, the man couldn't lose a 50-50. But, he doesn't necessarily strike everyone as, the most prolific finisher on that team, especially on a team with Alpha and Zen, right? Especially with Zen.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows the versatility that those two have to be facilitators, and especially Zen, because like if teams start to focus in on him, well, Radosin's going to score, Alpha's going to score, Zen's just going to 50 you, beat you to challenges, and pass the ball to his teammates. But then also if you're going to focus on Radosin, then Zen's going to beat you. So really they kind of have the best of both worlds, and I don't imagine that they would make a roster change, but I guess we've seen crazier things, right? So I hope that they keep the same roster. Ace, to answer your question, I think it's never going to happen, but I think if you bring back the OG Moist roster, I think that they have a chance, right? Vatira, Joyo, and Rise.
Yeah.
They never really got the full
Oh.
opportunity to compete, the way that I thought that they could have. I certainly thought that, that Moist Furia series was one of the best Rocket League series that I've ever seen. In general, let alone live, how hyped it was, how great of a series it was.
That was nuts.
Just for that to end so as quickly as it began for the Queso/Moist roster. But I really think that those three would be a stupendous team. Like right now, like if the the players have continued to develop as they have, Joyo has become a force on his own. Rise has become an awesome force on LAN events, and Vatira, just the force that is Vatira.
Right.
I just got goosebumps thinking about the Moist Fury game.
That was a great series. I cannot say
Yeah, it
enough
was.
good things about that.
Yeah.
That actually might be like if somebody was like brand new to Rocket League and or like they play Rocket League and they're just getting into RLCS, and they said, what is one series that I should watch that will make me the most hype for RLCS? I think that's my answer.
Yeah. A good one.
I mean,
Yeah,
the KC Vitality series from the semifinals of this year is a really good for crowd participation for the EU scene, for the how the growth of the esport. But I think that I just don't think there's anything that I've seen that tops that Moist Furia series.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah, but that's an interesting. Maybe we'll do an off-season episode on that as well. Some of the best Rocket League series to watch if you're new to RLCS, or doing like a deep dive in history lessons on RLCS and all of our world champions and things like that. But now we'll look at our end of the regular season MVPs. So each region had crowned a MVP from the regular season through the three splits, discounting the World Championships. From Asia Pacific, from APAC, we have Virtuoso from Elevate. For SSA Sub-Saharan Africa, we have To Die For from Limitless. From Oceania OCE, we have Super Lucky from Ground Zero. From MENA, Middle East, North Africa, we have Clears from Rule 1. From SAM, we have, from South America, we have Drafinho from Crew. From North America, we have First Killer from FaZe. And for EU, we have Vatira from Carmine Corp. What do you guys think about this list, and what are maybe some changes that you'd make?
I honestly,
I lost it. There it is.
Oh, yeah. I agree with these, right? Like I think that each of those players stood out quite a bit for their region. Although I would argue that North American RLCS MVP, I don't know if I would agree with First Killer. I think that I think that there are a couple other members of the NA squads that might have a better. I don't know. That I would put there before. Like Arsenal it comes to mind. When
What
it
about
comes to
Zen?
like
For NA.
yeah, or
Yep, yep,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
we
Just
adopted
from
him.
Boston Grand Finals alone.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. Like First Killer is really so for Sam, right? Like AJ and I are both big Brad guys, so I was a little bit upset to not see Brad from Crew as your Sam
Yeah.
MVP. But for NA, like I really like no disrespect to First Killer, he's a fantastic player. I don't think he was MVP of the season. Like looking back on it, I think it probably should be apparently Jack. Just like because you look at
I would
disagree.
also back that up. Yes,
because you look at all of the event, like all of the stuff that's happened, just in general, right? So like there's a little bit of a bias towards the end of the season, in my personal opinion. But like if you look at Gen G's results from this season, second, first fall major win, first in the Winter Open, second in the Winter Cup, 5th to 8th in the Winter Major, second in the Spring Open, and then their worst place of the entire season was 5th through 8th at the World Championships. That's insane to me. Whereas you look at I mean, FaZe did win quite a lot of stuff, I guess, though, right? So first in the fall open, third to fourth. When they make tournaments,
that's where you run into. Well, and that's where you run into the question, right? Because yeah, I would totally agree. Apparently Jack, right? But when it came to a team that just had their number and was kind of their kryptonite, you have FaZe.
Yeah.
So who's more impactful? Apparently Jack, who had absolutely everything you had said, right? But then you have First Killer squad that just seems to be able to take them out at will.
Yeah, I mean, really, the only kind of the biggest argument I have against First Killer is that FaZe did not make the Spring Major, right? So he was not able to showcase his talents there. That FaZe were not able to make an impression enough in the Spring Split to even make the major. And apparently Jack was at every major. They made every event this year. They were at all the invitationals for all 3 splits, and they were at the majors for all 3 splits. So he just was there more. So, but hey, First Killer is not a bad choice for MVP. I personally think that there was a better one, but hey, I'd hear an argument for First Killer. So I think that they definitely, it's either First Killer or apparently Jack, in my personal opinion. EU MVP, I think it could have very easily been Zen, but just due to the fact that he didn't play in 2 splits, I think Vatira is easily the best choice for this one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, only because the other names on that list already won. MVP.
Fair. But with our recap done, some of our bigger thoughts talked about, I figure we could talk about a couple things. First off, what the hell happened with FaZe, right? They make a coaching change. It was a little bit before the World Championships. They just announced it before the World Championships, which seems like such a weird time for me to bring in Chrome. But FaZe dropped out almost as quickly as humanly possible, and they're gone. I think that is the last time we see that FaZe roster in general.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
Also, I've heard some rumors, and we'll talk about this again when we talk about our upcoming schedule, but I've heard some rumors that FaZe Clan, a majority of FaZe Clan is going to be bought by a combination of Luminosity and Complexity.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, FaZe posted a $56 million loss last year, and a joint bid between Luminosity and Complexity came in for a majority stake in FaZe Clan. So I don't know if it will be accepted. I don't know, if those the Luminosity and Complexity guys will take a look at the financial books from FaZe and say, "Ha, yeah, no." but that's something we'll certainly have to keep our eyes on. Kind of the second, really talking point or thing that jumps out to me is MENA continues to prove that they're not a minor region anymore. 3 teams into the main event, right? And only one of them into the playoffs, but 3 of them make top 16. They did just as good as any of the NA teams in the in terms of results in the playoffs, but they continued to shine themselves in a fantastic light and really make a push for having more major and world championship spots. But really, we talked about BDS pulling a G2 from 2022 Worlds, but really the last big question I have is, did NA do better than you thought that they would?
Yes.
After
Absolutely.
Boston, 100%.
Yeah, after an
Boston was
all-EU top
kinda
4.
pathetic.
Yeah.
But I mean, Space Station looked great. I thought Gen G looked pretty good in the group stage until they made the playoffs, and unfortunately ran into a streaking Carmine Corp, which took them out. But I thought SSG had a good showing. I thought Complexity had a fantastic showing. G2, I really kind of started to believe a little bit in the dream run for the Knapsack and Chicago and Atomic, but it's looking like that may have been the final ride for JNAPS, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. But I certainly think that NA did better. So we've talked about it a little bit, but is Vitality just that good?
Can't argue with the results, right?
No, not at all.
Precisely.
Zen
Precisely.
Zen is speedrun Rocket League. In one split, he's won 3 regionals,
Yep.
a major, and a world championship.
On everything.
When Zen's on the team, they don't lose an event. So, like, I really guess like the only question looking forward to that is when will they lose? Right? When do they lose an event? When do they not win an event?
Well, if history serves, then
They'll
They'll
lose
never
for the
lose.
first. They'll lose for the first 2 splits.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not gonna qualify for a major until spring next year, probably.
Yeah, hold on. They'll
If the
play.
pattern holds.
They'll play 2 splits, then bring in Rise, then make Worlds.
yeah.
Yeah, but that they were just Vitality was just on a level of their own, and I can't say there's anyone more deserving to win a world championship than them, especially with the form that they've shown, in the spring split and heading into the world championships. I kind of hoped for a better series in the grand finals, but I think a lot of people did. But it really just goes to show how good Vitality, how good Zen, and how good Farah has been for this team.
And the whiteboard.
And the whiteboard, yeah. Big brain Airbus Farah.
Exactly.
Yeah, how about CJ continuing to call him the Airbus on stream? And for those that don't understand the reference, there was a joke. There is a joke or a meme going around about Farah that when he aerials, he does not really do any air rolls or fancy aerial mechanics. He does his foot presets, he knows his ceiling resets and stuff like that. But he kind of just flew straight most of the time, and so they started calling him the Airbus. And CJ has continued that legacy on, shall I say?
Makes me happy.
It gives me hope.
It certainly makes me chuckle every time. Even if an Airbus can make it in RLCS and almost win a world championship, then there's hope for the rest of us.
Exactly.
But for our upcoming schedule, this week we will record another episode with the Bubble Blast crew. We have a special interview with someone plugged into the scene, an insider, if you will. So we will talk everything from rumors to information coming out of Psyonix and Rocket League and everything having to do with the RLCS and CRL scene. That will be one that you surely won't want to miss. More of a tell-all episode from somebody who knows a lot more than we do. So that should be very interesting to see what happens. But that'll be with me, Sasuke, and Atomic. And that will be coming to you guys later this week or this weekend. But with that, thank you guys so much again for listening. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, join our Discord, rate us wherever you listen to podcasts, as it really helps us out as we continue to try and grow. We have a lot of exciting content coming up that we're planning to start implementing, now that the off season is fully here. You guys can continue to expect some exciting content throughout the off season. We have a couple cool ideas, including maybe a Rocket League tier list debate with some of the people that we've had on and some prominent people from the RLCS scene. Also, check out our YouTube. We're going to have more videos and other things coming soon. Our Twitch, as now that is the off season, we will be looking into streaming more. Our TikTok, we will continue to post new clips and videos to that. All of those links and more, including all of our photos from events that we've been to and that we've taken, are available on our website at www.boostoverball.com. And from us on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball.
Thank you for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website, www.boostoverball.com, and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts.